two different ways to read the book of Revelation. One is to read the book of Revelation as a predictive tool. The second is to read the book of Revelation as an evaluation tool. Okay? Number one, predictive tool. Number two, evaluation tool. If I read the book of Revelation, or if we read the book of Revelation as a predictive tool, what we do is we shrink the impact of the book of Revelation, because the book of Revelation is just predicting whoever the beast nation is, or whoever the Antichrist is. Even though, fun fact, the word Antichrist is not in the book of Revelation, but that doesn't mean we still can't try to predict it. And so, predicting as a predictive tool, what we do is we shrink the book of Revelation to trying to predict something that often doesn't happen in our age. Just ask all the ages before us. And actually, if we use the book of Revelation as a predictive tool, interestingly, it meant nothing to John's readers, because they certainly couldn't predict what's to happen in our future. So what's the other way? The other way is as an evaluation tool. As an evaluation tool, we recognize the book of Revelation as symbols. So things like beasts or the sea are symbols. Symbols that provide an evaluation for us to evaluate every nation, including our nations, to evaluate every person, not just whoever the Antichrist, again, that's not in Revelation, but whoever that is, whoever we're talking about. But I need to allow Revelation to evaluate me. Well, that gets difficult because many of us have been told, number one, I pledge allegiance to the United States of the flag of the United States. Wait, I just messed it up. I messed it up, sorry, because I don't do it. But the way you do it is, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. If we pledge our allegiance so often, we get in our heads that you can't see the United States as bad, and therefore it is beyond evaluation. No. We can't evaluate that, Danny. We have limits on evaluation, and we've decided that we're not going to evaluate our own country. That could be the United States. That could be Kenya. That could be Israel. That could be any nation on this planet ever. What is your limit? What will you not evaluate? I want to suggest to you that your unwillingness to evaluate something shrinks your impact, the impact of the book of Revelation in your life. Specifically, my willingness to allow Revelation to evaluate me. So, I have a little prop here. This is a map of the world. It's been through a lot. It's been in my house. So if you look at it and you think, what are those little marks? That's just people playing with it. But anyway, you can see that it's filled. It's not blue, but you can see that it's filled with the sea. The sea, of course, they say they divide into Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic, and maybe a couple other things like the Gulf of Mexico, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Caribbean Sea. But really, it's all one big, giant sea. And so, today we're talking about the sea. So you can kind of see it here still a little bit. Maybe you can't, but you just saw it. No More Sea, that's the title of today's message. No More Sea. We get that from the book of Revelation chapter 21. Then I saw the new heavens
and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. Oh, crap! Sorry, that's bad to say. I love going to the beach. Anybody else like going to the Gulf of Mexico? Anybody else been to the beach and seen the ocean or the sea, and you loved it? What are you talking about, John? Here's where we have to understand this is a symbolic book, people. Like, don't get too freaked out about there being no sea. It's symbolic. I don't think that we have to interpret this to mean there's no literal sea in the new heavens and the new earth. You might say, well, why? Well, because what I just say, it's symbolic. You see that map? That's symbolic of the sea or the world. But is that really the world? Funny, I'm going to see if it's wet. It wasn't wet. That's crazy. It's the sea, right? Shouldn't it be wet? But no, it's a symbol of the sea. Just like John's evil sea, a place of the depth and width and length of evil, is a symbol. Just like, by the way, in case you're still stuck and really want to read Revelation literally, don't forget that the key character of the book of Revelation is a farm animal named the Lamb. Now, Jesus did become a human being. He did not become a farm animal. It is symbolic. Okay? So you got to get that in your head. This is a symbolic book. He is trying to tell us something about the sea. So here's 3 things about the sea. I got a little bit of connection with my church. Number 1, beasts come out of the sea. Number 2, the sea is filled with blood. See, imagine this is a bloody church. The sea is filled with, all of the blood flows into the sea. And number 3, the sea sings that song from The Greatest Showman. Never enough. Never enough. Let's look at all 3 together. Number 1, beasts come from the sea. Revelation chapter 13, verse 1, actually tying back to the end of the last chapter. And he, that's the dragon, and he stood on the sand of the sea. And I saw a beast rising out of the sea, with 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 diadems on its horns and blasphemous names on its heads. Then it goes on to describe it as feet like a leopard, or something like a leopard, feet like a bear, mouth like a lion's mouth, and all kinds of other stuff. This beast dominates the world. Funny thing, before John, another guy, which is also very important for reading Revelation, named Daniel, wrote about a dream he had about 4 beasts coming out of the sea. 4 beasts in Daniel, 1 beast in Revelation. It seems like this is a category where beasts come from the sea. Funny thing, oftentimes, if somebody wanted to take over the whole world, like this dude named Alexander the Great, I think he was one of those beasts. He did it, oftentimes people did it by using the sea as one of the methods. So these people would get on these boats, and they would sail to your country, and they would dominate you. And they would say, hey, this is all for peace. A beast dominates. Well, if we use this as an evaluation tool, we can ask about our own country. Unless, of course, we decided that that's against the rules. We have to decide what we're willing to evaluate. Am I allowed or not to evaluate my country, the country I live in the United States of America, its military force, which is spread all over every sea, even more than the Roman Empire? Am I allowed to evaluate that? If I don't evaluate the United States, you can be sure I will not evaluate myself. Oh, well, how do you evaluate yourself? about this. You know, I've actually not spent a ton of time on the sea, definitely not boats, but I had a dream last night. Funny dream. Not too funny, it was actually disturbing. I had a dream that I was preaching this exact sermon, and it was a small little area. And I had only gotten to the point about the predictive tool of Revelation. That was like the first thing I talked about. And everybody walks out, and I realized nobody was listening to me. And so I got adamant about speaking to them so that they would hear me. And it was like I wanted to dominate them. I wanted to win. I wanted to drill my point into their heads, and they all walked out and left. You see, the dragon does not care about what I do as much as who I become. And I look and I think, wow, I've become like a beast. Are you willing to evaluate yourself? It's so easy to evaluate anyone else. Are you willing to evaluate yourself? Are you beastly? Do you want to win? Do you want to conquer? Do you want to be right? Do you want to rule over other people? That's a question that we either are going to ask or not ask. That's number one. Beasts come from the sea, and it seems like no matter how many beasts come out of that sea, there's always another beast, and many of you feel like I do, if you're honest, that it seems like there is a sea of evil in you that just keeps having beasts come and come up, and they can chop one head off, but another rises, and there's always a beast in you. And I am so sick and tired of the beast, and even though I was not in a hotel in California, I stabbed that thing with my steely knives, but I just can't kill the beast. Number two, all blood flows into the sea. That's what the sea is. It catches all of everything. If you kill someone, or if I kill someone, that blood, it'll take some time. It'll go to the White River first. Then after the White River, it'll go eventually, I think, to the Mississippi River. Once it hits the Mississippi River, eventually, it'll take time, but it will eventually go to the sea. All the blood goes into the sea. We read this in chapter 16, verses 3 through 7. I think it's going to be up there. I might be quoting it differently than that. You can read your own Bible. Talking about the bowls. The second angel poured out his bowl into the sea, and it became blood. And every living thing died that was in the sea. The third angel poured out his bowl into the rivers and the springs of water, and they became blood. And I heard the angel in charge of the water say, "Just are you, O Holy One, who is and who was, for you brought these judgments. They have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and you have given them blood to drink. It is what they deserve." You see, God's form of punishment is called natural punishment. He gives us the cup that we have mixed ourselves. And so we know that the Roman Empire was filled with war. We also know that our country has been filled with war. My grandpa was in a battleship in the South Pacific in the Navy. Do I have to say that I can't evaluate that? Can I? No. Can I evaluate the Vietnam War that my dad was in? Talk to him about the Vietnam War. He and I got over on the Appalachian Trail and had a good long talk about the Vietnam War. What about the wars that we're in now? What about Gaza? What about our prison system? Am I allowed to evaluate this country or not. If I don't, you're going to see that I'm going to miss something. And what I'm going to miss is key. But also, you see, I can let God have it before I've never killed anybody. And then I hear Jesus say, you have heard that it was said, thou shalt not murder, but daily I say to you. And then I think of the words that have come out of my mouth. And the words that I've spoken against my brothers and my sisters, and I realize that the blood isn't on my hands, it's dripping from my mouth, just like a thief. And I'm filled with this idea that this huge Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic Ocean is filled not just with the blood of all the militaries of the world, but it's filled with the blood that I have shed with my mouth. Third thing, never enough. Interesting, I keep talking about military ships, but actually, the book of Revelation doesn't talk about military ships. It talks about cargo ships. There's no military ships, it's just cargo ships, on, and these, when Babylon calls these people, these merchants, you get the picture. Sorry, is Aaron in here? Is Aaron Fisher in here? I know he works for UPS. I used to work for UPS, and it just reminds me, and I'm not saying anything bad about UPS, it just reminds me of what I did. That's what we do at UPS. We ship stuff all over the world. And these cargo people were so sad because nobody bought their cargo anymore. The merchants of Europe, I don't know if it's up there or not, maybe it is. The merchants of Europe weep and mourn because no one buys their cargo anymore. Cargo of, just think about this list in your own life. Cargo of gold, silver, jewels, pearls, fine linen, purple cloth, silk, scarlet cloth. We love our clothes, don't we? All kinds of scented wood, all kinds of articles of ivory, all kinds of articles of costly wood, bronze, iron, and marble, cinnamon, spice, incense, myrrh, frankincense, wine, oil, fine flour, wheat, cattle and sheep, horses and chariots, and slaves. That is human souls. You see, the ships of Revelation are actually not warships. They're cargo ships. You see, the sea says never enough. We can't have enough. Symbolically, in the book of Revelation, the sea says never enough. More, more, more. We want more, more, more. Even if it costs somebody something. Even if somebody has to be in slavery to make our cotton, like this country was built on, or the iPhone. All those people who dig up the little things to make this phone that I have. Maybe you don't have it, but I have one. All the little kids that had to dig up this stuff is because I said more, more, more. The pornography that we watch, we don't care who is enslaved. We don't care who is human trafficked. We just say more, more, more. We can't ever have enough. You see, I want to ask you, can you see this giant ocean of evil, beastly, bloody, never enough? Do you see the sea of death? You see, it's an image. The sea is 70%, 71% of the world is covered in the sea. You can see it on the map if you can see the map. It is filled with evil in the book of Revelation to remind us how big sea of death is. And so now, two options. What do we do with this? Two options. Number one option is the option that Revelation itself gives, and that is drink it. Drink it. This is what happens in chapter 14. This is what happens in chapter 15. We drink the cup that we have mixed. And when we drink it, we say everything's okay. We say the way things are is fine. We're just going to keep drinking it. But the trouble is, and by the way, that's God's judgment, is allowing us to drink it. And that's often what we choose. We choose to just drink the same old cup and keep drinking. And yet, we could never finish it. It's still there. As much as you drink of this sea of evil, the sea of evil doesn't go away. And inside of us is still this sea of evil that creates in us an emptiness. Whoa. The other option is this. When you look at how wide and how long and how deep the sea of evil is all over the world, in my own life, in my own soul, this is the other option besides drinking. Greed. Greed. Greed says it's not okay. Grief is us saying things aren't right. Grief is us saying we are hurt. Grief is us saying we have hurt others. Grief, of course, in the midst of our brother Randy passing away, there's deep grief at his death. Even in that kind of grief, there is sometimes an eagerness to get along with life and say it's going to be okay. When it's not going to be. Are you willing to be a person who grieves your own sin, who grieves your mom's sin, who grieves your dad's sin, who grieves your grandparents' sin, your children's sin, your country's sin, the world's sin? Are you willing to grieve? About last October, there were 33 children in Israel that were killed by Hamas last October. We should definitely grieve that. I have 5 children. Imagining 33 children dying is mind-boggling to me. Will we allow ourselves to grieve that? And yet, I have to ask this. Am I or am I not allowed to grieve the guns that were sent to the nation-state of Israel from our country, the country that you and I pay taxes to and support the most gigantic military in the world? Am I allowed to grieve the bombs that were killed in a 6-mile wide by 10-mile long strip of land with 2 million people, in which 13,000 children died? Are we going to grieve that? Our willingness to grieve is directly connected to how wonderful it is to know that there will be no more sea. Our willingness to grieve, the sin of my own heart, the sin of the world, the destruction, the murder, the terror, the evil, the addiction. Our willingness to grieve that connects us with the ability to understand how wonderful it is that the sea is no more, because then it says in Revelation 21, I might be skipping here, then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. It doesn't say where the sea went. How can something that big just go away? Besides my wife, my favorite singer is a guy named Keith Green. Anybody know Keith Green? Keith Green sings a song, and I'm not going to sing it, but I'm going to tell you the words, and it goes like this. Most people don't find out till it's too late that someone has to pay the price. You can pay it yourself, or let someone else, but who would be that nice to pay a debt that isn't his? When we think about the Sea of Evil from Pacific to Atlantic and all the seas in between, and we imagine this giant sea of death, you can also imagine it, because it kind of flips images, as this giant cup of suffering. But who would make the decision? Who could even drink that giant cup of suffering for us? And then we remember. He knelt down in the garden about a stone's throw from his disciples, and he said this. He said, Father, if it's your will, let this cup of suffering pass from me. However, not my will, but your will must be done. Then a heavenly angel came to him and strengthened him, appeared to him and strengthened him. He was in anguish and prayed even more earnestly. His sweat became like drops of blood falling on the ground. Jesus grieved the sea of death, and then he drank it for you. Jesus drank the Pacific Ocean of evil for you. Jesus drank the Atlantic Ocean of the slave trade of this country's sin for you and for me. Jesus drank all of it, and it killed him. It killed him. He drank it because he loves you so much. If you've ever considered that maybe God doesn't love you, I want you to just see this image of Jesus drinking the sea of death, the giant cup of the world's suffering, and I want you to understand that he drank that so that you didn't have to drink it. There's another option. You see, Jesus also, we read about in chapter 22, then the angel showed me the river of the water of life, bright as crystal, flowing from where? From the throne of God and of the Lamb to the middle of the street of the city. Jesus drank the sea of death for us so that we could drink the river of life.
Amen.
The more we're willing to grieve the sea of death, the better the river of life will taste. I want you to consider the next time you look out at a map or the real sea, I want you to take some time to breathe.